Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Bain Break It Down Forex. It's your boy Big Bain in this thing. And you guys guessed it, another week, another opportunity for us to make some money in the Forex market. So let's get right to it. All right, boom. Over on the dollar, guys, you guys can see that we just broke this low. We made this new low, and now we're starting to consolidate. All right, just to give you guys some game. All right, every time you see consolidation, right, there's liquidity that's building up on both sides of the consolidation. So what typically ends up happening is price will sweep one side of the liquidity first, right? In this case, it did the buy side liquidity. All right, it swept that. Then it will go to sweep the sell side liquidity that sits below the consolidation. So if you guys understand that, right, then you know to look out for it, right? Wait for it to happen, right? Then look for your potential trade opportunity, because at that point, you know that whatever manipulation they're trying to do is over with, right? Because again, there's indecision of buyers and sellers, right? So if they take you both out and make both of you believe price is going in the opposite direction, right? That's an advantage to them. Do you understand what I'm saying? So just wanted to throw that on you guys to, put into your repertoire, right, of looking out for these things so that you can have a better trade experience as you're looking for your setups. All right. So with all that being said, guys, because we made the new low, I believe we're going to get the pullback, right? Maybe to this area that we broke, maybe to the supply area, right? Maybe even higher, all the way up to this supply area, right? That is a possibility, okay? But I'm expecting some sort of reversal from this consolidation as we got a triple bottom, all right, which is a bullish reversal chart pattern. All right, so that's what that's all about. Expecting that move up, and again, somewhere move down from these, respective areas. But coming into the week, I see the dollar taking out the low, right, the liquidity, right, the sell side. After it does that, then I see it shooting up to break to the area that we previously broke, right up in here, or to that supply area, and then doing whatever it's going to do. So with the dollar expecting to go up, this is where we look to sell all of our non-dollar based pairs, right? So your XXX/USD pairs, right? We sell those pairs, right? And then we buy dollar based pairs, right? Where it's USD, right, /XXXX, right? Those pairs, we buy those, right? So this is just how simple it is, guys, to get to it in Forex, right? I know it'd be seeming complex because there's just a lot of concepts that you haven't quite grasped yet. All right, so again, if you're trying to get jiggy with it, make sure to check me out. All right, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'm gonna help you get to it. All right, over to odd dollar. All right, because I expect the dollar to rise, I expect the odd dollar to fall. We just had a nice little change of character right about here at this structure. All right, so you can see that very nice and easy. All right, so this indicates a potential change from going up, all right, to going down. All right, so with identifying that, I'm just looking for my area of supply, which just so happens to be right here. All right, mark that out. All right, and now this is where it begins to get easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? As I have that supply area, I want a short position to get in from that supply area, looking at this high as an area where I want to place my stop above, because again, these are kind of equal highs, so liquidity sits behind that, guys. All right, again, I'm giving you the game, right? So price will push up, sweep that liquidity. All right, now it has the fuel that it needs to push price down. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why we want a stop loss that's well above any of that possibility, right, guys? This is never 100% you're going to win your trades, but the probability, right, the higher it is, the more you have, on your side to win the trade, right? So we're going off of probability. So we understand this cycle, and we understand we just need to wait for this to happen, or if we're in it, to cover ourselves for that possibility, guys, you're going to see a tremendous change in your trading. All right, so that's that with the odd dollar, right? I'm expecting that push up. I'm going to have a sell limit ready to activate. My stop loss above the possibility, right? And my take profit here is a 1 or 2 right about here, right? But I know that I can get all the way down to this demand level because it was where the initial change of character, where price started rising. That's where it happened, right? So I'll just stretch that on down, right, all the way to there. 154 pips with the 38 pip stop loss. Guys, a risk to reward of 1 to 5. If you risk $1,000, you would have made $4,000. It's that simple. You risk $100, you make $400. You understand what I'm saying? So it's that kind of party. Okay, but bearish, right, on odd dollar. With all of that being said, moving over to euro dollar, same exact thing, guys. Euro dollar has a very nice setup, right? It's giving us a double bottom, maybe a double top or a triple top, right? And this was liquidity. We just swept that, and now we're kind of, still in consolidation, but you can see that it does the exact inverse of what the dollar does, right? So how the dollar went down and it was showing consolidation with the potential of going up, the euro shows up with consolidation and the potential of going down, right? They are completely inverted of one another. All right, so that's another edge that we have in the market, of just knowing that correlation between euro dollar and the dollar. That helps us win trades really, really big. All right, so again, with this setup, I'm just expecting the euro to fall, so I'm just going to cover myself for in case it wants to sweep this high for some reason, right? But other than that, there's liquidity sitting here that hasn't been taken out, liquidity here, all right, and as well as this demand area sitting down here. So that's what I'm going to aim for, and that's going to give me a nice 1 to 5 risk to reward, guys. All right, so euro USD is looking good to me, all right, for that drop coming into this week. I'm bearish on euro dollar. Same for pound dollar, right? Won't bore you with the technicals, but it's all the same. Got a nice clean break. It should come back to the supply area, potentially sweep the high, and then drop. So I'm bearish on GU, all right? NZD USD, right? Typically the stepchild, but same MO, all right? Just a little slightly different. Got more of a trend line break, right? That's a sweep of liquidity, right? And then we also have the change of character right about here, right? Somewhere in that area. It's probably really, probably right here somewhere. Really maybe right there, all right? That'll be the change of character. All right, when it actually breaks below what have you, which it might have did on this wick, but we don't really know. Either way, I'm expecting it to just push up a little bit more right to that area of supply. Okay, just like that, and then I'll take a short position from that area because there's a confluence of the trend line meeting the supply area. All right, so that is an area of confluence where price most likely will gravitate to before it drops. Again, these are a bit of an equal high, so I'm also going to cover myself for what we call the gotcha bitch. All right, and y'all know with Dave Chappelle famously quoting that, right? We watch out for that, right? And shout out to my boy Nate, right? But we make sure our stop loss is above the potential of price getting swept, right? The liquidity sweep or liquidity hunt, right? Stop hunt, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same. Okay, they go and get that, and then they turn it around and drop it. So we prepare ourselves for that, and that's how we get away with what we get away with, right? Bringing it on down 169 pips to the downside, guys. New Zealand dollar, the stepchild, right? Looks like it's going to fall in line right this week. All right, bearish on New Zealand dollar. All right, dollar CAD, and again, from this 2-hour time frame, you can't see it too well, but we're beginning to get bullish on dollar CAD. All right, just a little bit. Okay, let's go 4-hour. Okay, yeah, so break of the low, we made the new low, and then we started pulling back in, with that whole uptrend. But then we started pulling back from there, right? Giving a downtrend. So we can see that right now it still technically is bearish. All right, so be very careful trying to buy dollar CAD, because again, we are at a potential area that it could still drop from. All right, so be very careful on that. All right, so for now, I'm going to say bearish on dollar CAD. All right, over to dollar CHF. And again, guys, here we can see that there was a nice push down, right? Just like it was on the dollar, right? So looking at this on a lower time frame, okay, and we can see that we're still technically bearish. All right, I know we want to, look at the dollar and say, oh, the dollar's rising, so the dollar CHF should be rising, which most of the time is correct. All right, but in this instance, it's still looking a little bearish. So we don't go with correlation over market structure in this scenario, right? In this scenario, if we want to buy, we need to see that change of character to the upside, all right, before we do. So one moment before we get ourselves into a buy. All right, so what that would look like is identifying first which high, right, broke a low, making it a strong high that needs to be broken in order to have a change of character. All right, so rewind that back as many times as you need, all right, to succeed, all right, with understanding when to look for your buying opportunities, right? Because until that happens, if it does not happen, then you're still bearish. So this is how you continue to make money as the trend is continuing, in whichever direction, the trend is in, right? So again, price will need to break above this high that broke this low, making it strong, right? It broke it right here at X marks the spot. So again, need to see this break to know that we have a change. Need to see the pullback, need to see the bull show up. If that happens, we now have a higher low, right, signaling the potential bullish reversal. And when you really look at it, you also have yourself a head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders. Here's your left shoulder right here, here's your head right here, and this will be your right shoulder, completing that head and shoulders chart pattern that we all know so well, right? Because again, that's telling you guys how you can have or take advantage of the beginning of a bullish reversal. All right, so definitely watch out for that this week on dollar CAD, right? It is still bearish. Dollar CHF is still bearish for the moment. All right, moving over to dollar JPY, and dollar JPY is also bearish, right? And we're getting a bit of a pullback here, right, on dollar JPY. So I'll show you guys, and as soon as I can find my tool, boom, all right, there it is. This is giving us a bit of a rising channel. All right, that is a bearish reversal pattern. So if it's telling us that price might drop, what do we want to look at in terms of a selling opportunity, right? And basically what you can see is there's a nice supply area, right above that channel. So price might push up to tap into that, right? Filling this imbalance that it has right in here, right? It'll push up to that. And then from this confluence area, right, of a supply area meeting a chart pattern, right? We have an opportunity to try to take advantage of that here on the lower time frame, right? So we'll simply wait till price gets up to that supply, and then we'll put on or we'll have a sell limit there, or we'll put a sell order, right, a market sell order when it gets to that supply area, and just aim right for the low of the channel. That's already a 1 to 3 risk to reward, 23 pips for 67. But we know that we can aim for the low because liquidity sits all below this channel. People have bought from here and placed their stop loss behind it, so chances of price falling even more to that low is even high, it's higher, right? So now 141 pips with a 23 pip stop loss, that looks really good for selling opportunity on dollar JPY. But we're probably going to go up first, right? Sweep this liquidity, balance out this imbalance, tap into supply, and then drop. All right, so look for the rise before you look for the fall. All right, even if it does fall from here, look for it to fall from this, right? This is getting in at a premium price, selling high, which is the name of the game. All right, so initially bullish on dollar JPY, then bearish for the major drop that's going to give you over 100 pips. All right, moving on to pound odd. All right, let's get back to the higher time frame. And my team is sold pound odd. You guys can see we're forming a bit of a double top from what you can see right here, but we already were with these equal highs that started to give us that indication that maybe price is finished rising because it couldn't make any higher highs, and is still not able to make higher highs with a lot of wick rejection. So we're in it for the sell. This is one of those go-to plays of the week. All right, pound odd, 305 pips, right? One time for the 305. All right, so with this setup, guys, you want to take advantage of it. All right, don't sleep on this one right out the gate. Sunday when the market opens, this bad boy can start to jump down and get down here very quickly, probably before the market even opens. Well, you know, everybody get to it on Monday, right, is what I'm saying. Okay, so pound odd for the drop. All right, moving over to pound cat, we got the same kind of, you know, MO with pound cat, right? The highs are not getting higher, it's failing to break higher, right? So that's a dead giveaway that price may want to fall, on top of the fact that it's giving us this massive wick. All right, that's another indication of rejection of buyers. All right, so you're getting a lot of things to tell you that price potentially wants to drop, so therefore you want to be looking for your sell opportunities. I am bearish on pound cat as I see it getting down to this area of demand because of this huge imbalance. All right, guys, could go lower, but for now, just down to this area, that is a good sell opportunity on pound cat. All right, over to pound CHF, and when we look at this on the higher time frame from the daily, right, we can pretty much see that we did break a low, we made a new low, we did our pullback, right, we got a bit of consolidation, then we started pushing down. So we're currently respecting this demand area heavily, right, but there's also one more below it to where price can rise from. So ultimately I am looking for a buying opportunity, right? I might get it from this demand area, I might have to get it from this one, right? But either way, you know, I expect pound CHF to rise, sweep this liquidity, tap into the supply, balancing out all of this imbalance to the upside for a play. All right, so bullish on pound CHF. All right, over to pound JPY, you guys can kind of see like a little rising wedge right here, but we're gonna get lower so you can see it in detail. All right, boom, right here it is. So again, a rising wedge is typically a bearish reversal chart pattern. So again, I'm seeing equal highs right here, and price is already starting to pull up. It could end up forming what we call a morning star. That'll cause price to keep rising, but for now, right, price is just right within or right below these equal highs. So I expect price to push up, sweep these equal highs, getting above this supply area, possibly tapping this before we want to look for our selling opportunity. Okay, that's one scenario, but the second one is we might just reject this trend line and start to fall, in which case you would definitely want to be in a sell from that trend line with your stop way above, you know, the rising channel trend line. All right, if you can get that and then aim right for that swing low, you're gonna have a good trade, you know, with pound JPY. My team caught 500 pips on oil last week with this exact setup, guys. Tuesday of last week, right, that just passed, Tuesday just passed, we had another rising wedge. We caught it from the absolute top and it dropped all the way down to the demand level, $5 move on oil, which was 500 pips. It's now sitting at support, and I'll show you guys oil as we go forward. And my team is looking to take advantage of the buy, which is, you know, just going to the other side of the trade that we took on Tuesday for the sell, and now, you know, catching it in reverse because, you know, we know how to do what we do. All right, so again, similar kind of setup here on pound JPY, looking for the push up, and then I see pound JPY tanking, guys. Right, it can get way past this low down to this swing, and I'm talking cha-ching. All right, 300, 400 pips on GJ. Don't sleep on the beat, guys. It's gonna be sweet. All right, BBIDF. So pound New Zealand. All right, same kind of MO. Right, it did make a high, it started pulling back, but it didn't really get to any of our demand levels, didn't sweep any imbalance, balance out any imbalance. It just started to rise up, but the lows or the highs stayed lower than this high, so it wasn't making any higher highs. Again, it's giving telling signs that it may potentially want to reverse. All right, so with that, we'll look to place a position right in the area where we expect the sweep, which is also sitting in that supply area. Right, that's about an 80 pip stop loss, but our sell position here, right, sell limit if you want to do it now beforehand. All right, and aim to this demand area. That'll get you 255 pips or aim for the absolute strong low, and that'll get you 437 pips. That's what I'm going to do. All right, bearish on pound New Zealand. Here it is, oil. All right, here's that rising wedge I told you guys about. We sold it from here. We made 500 pips all the way down to this demand area. Now in this demand area, it's giving us a rising channel, which is a bearish reversal pattern, right? Or a bearish flag, if you will, because the pole is here and what have you. But either way, it's supposed to drop, potentially get down to this support before rising again. And we're just kind of hoping that doesn't happen, right? Because you know, we just wanted to get into this demand a little deeper and then, you know, rise from there. That'll be ideal for us, right? But, you know, we know what the possibilities are. We made our bed and we are laying in it. All right. So it just is what it is. But this is a buying opportunity on oil to catch over 500 pips, guys, maybe even 6 or more, because this is the pullback, right, to this run up that it had. This is simply the pullback. So if we start a new run, it should go and break above these highs, guys, and that's $8, $9, $10 move on a mini lot of oil. That's $1,000 easily. All right, and that's just a $10 move on oil. So just letting you guys know, you know, this is a potential play where I expect potentially that it'll push down first, right, before giving you the major rise, right? But if you buy it now and you cover yourself up, you know, for that, you'll be okay. But it'll be better to buy it low. So just having a buy limit at this area and then, you know, catching it that way to the upside. Either way, guys, 500 to maybe a 1,000 point pip move on oil is here. All right, take advantage. Bullish on oil. All right, over to silver. All right, silver is consolidating a little bit. It's at a demand level right now, but I don't really know what it's going to do. All right, I do expect the dollar to rise, so maybe silver will fall, but at the moment I'm very indecisive, so I'm going to need to see some more before I actually know how I want to play silver, because it's very, very tricky at the moment. All right, moving over to gold. All right, so gold finally, you know, started doing some drops. We broke this low, made this new low, so I do expect a pullback, right, for gold to push up, and that's where I'm looking at the dollar sweeping the lows, right, on this chart. That'll make gold pull up, right, and then eventually start to fall once again. But bullish initially on gold, probably to this supply area or this supply area, and then from there looking for the potential continuation to the downside. All right, gold is overall bearish right now. All right, again, breaking lows, making new lows, right, but it may give us that pullback, which will be up first, right, before it gives us that next run that'll be back in alignment with the downtrend that is currently in. All right, so looking for some buying opportunity first, and then looking to sell gold later in the week. All right, so bullish then bearish on gold. All right, natural gas. I gave you guys this last week in my watch list, except that we were in this fair value gap area and we were trying to buy from here. Price just simply pushed down, swept liquidity behind this demand area, and now it's taking off. I expect it to continue rising till it gets to supply, but it may have, you know, just some pit stops in terms of giving us some pullbacks like this, you know, doing one of these numbers before it kind of gets up to supply. But either way, I do see natural gas continuing to rise. All right, bullish on natural gas. All right, SPY. Right, my team was trying to sell it. We were getting slapped left and right as each time we sold, price just kept rising, kept rising, kept rising. So hopefully we learned our lesson, but chances are we're still going to sell it this week. All right, because again, we made a nice high, breaking this high, making this new high. Price is starting to break its structure, or at least make a lower low right here. So clean break or change of character right here, right, from making those higher highs and higher lows to now making a lower low and potentially lower high, right? So if that starts, it's, you know, it's about that time to start selling SPY. All right, so because we got a nice pullback, I do expect it to start dropping soon, and I'm bearish on SPY. All right, over to NAS. Again, same thing, right? NAS just kept going higher and higher. It seemed like it never want to fall, but now we have a nice change of character right here. All right, and we're pulling back to potentially this supply area up in here. All right, once we get there, right, we most likely will drop, guys. All right, it's where you got to take your chances. Okay, everything's lining up for a good potential, right, a good probability for price to be in your favor. All right, and there's a 1 to almost 10 risk to reward, right, that I'll play, you know, on NAS, and I can probably get way more than how many points is this? 672 points, right? I can probably get close to 1,000 points just by aiming for right there, those lows, right? 1,000 point play setting up on NAS, guys, and I'm putting it in your hands, all right, for free. Okay, all right, you better rock with me. Okay, there's plenty more where that came from. I've had lots of 1,000 point weeks last year at the last quarter of the year. All right, we're in the middle now, but nonetheless, the opportunity is here. All right, so take advantage, guys. 1,000 point move on NAS. I'm bearish. Last but not least, US 30. What do you know? Right, broke the high. All right, made a new high. All right, and kind of, you know, was about to give us a change of character, but not quite. So it is still bullish. All right, until we can really break below this area, right, we are still bullish on NAS. But because we got a nice rise up, right, this could easily become a equal high, right, not making a higher high, and this will be a great area to sell from, right, with a position similar to this, right? Just give yourself some space for if they push up a little higher, right, before dropping. And easily this is a 1 to 3, 152 points for 460. That, you know, that can happen right out the gate on Monday, right? And that's easy. But then we can go and pull it all the way right back to this break of structure, right, which at this point will give us over 700 or 750 points to the downside, right, on US 30. All right, so again, we got bearish opportunities on these indices with, you know, a nice bullish opportunity happening on the dollar index, right, which we use to get grooving with a lot of these pairs, right? And that's just, you know, how it goes. All right, but again, you guys trying to learn something, you want to earn something, all right, and you want to be able to do it on your own, right? You want to be able to have that thing that is, you know, helping you fix some things. Come rock with me, forexwithbain.com. I promise y'all, right, it'll change your life, right? But in the meantime, in between time, y'all know what it is. It's your boy. Peace. Want to get money? Want to get paid? That's Forex. Like a sensei, then you know you got to come and swing my way. And if you want to fast forward, hit replay.